Welcome to the Living Consciously TV show. I'm your host, Coach Steve Toth, and our theme today is the only thing stopping us is us stopping. And this theme today is grounded in health, which is one of our 7 areas of life balance. And let me introduce you to our guest as well as our health panel, our experts. Our guest today is John Fries. And he is a business startup investor as well as an entrepreneur. And welcome to the show, John.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you for being here. And let me introduce you now to the expert panel. And our expert panel, beginning with James McPartland, who is already on the large screen there. He is our health and wellness expert, and he's joining us from Los Angeles. Welcome to the show.
Steve, good Saturday afternoon to you. Pleasure to be here.
To you
Thanks.
as well. And Ninon DeVerderosa, she is also joining us from Los Angeles. It's a West Coast show, I guess, today. And she's also in LA, and she is our health expert as well. Welcome to the show, Ninon.
Thank you from the Hollywood Hills.
Thank you for being here. And also Jane Eileen Cohn, she's also our health expert, and she's joining us from the beautiful city of San Diego, California. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. Glad to be here.
Fantastic. So let me just start up by saying how the show is going to go this afternoon. And the way it will go is in the first segment, which is going to be a really short segment. The team is just going to share with you, our viewers, what is the Living Consciously show means to them, and what is it really about for all of the people that are tuning in today. And then after that, the second segment, we're going to be talking about what are the issues and problems with us really stopping. And then in the third segment, we'll talk about and discuss the potential solutions and some modalities that any of our experts are using or have used in the past that would help us and our viewers so that we don't stop. So how does that sound, team?
That's awesome.
Excellent.
Good to me.
All right. Well, let's get started
ready.
with what does the Living Consciously TV show means to you, and what is it really about? So why don't we start with James? He's one of our newest cast members.
Well, Steve, thanks for asking. First, it allows me to spend time with you, and that's a healthy thing for me.
Oh.
And if you ask me what health is, to me, health is energy. It's being authentic. It's living your truth, and it's unlocking the potential, or let's say, opening the gifts that you've been given at birth.
Fantastic. And by the way, I'd like to say that today there is a new plateau that we have reached, which is today we have more men on the show than women. It's the first time it has ever happened, and this is episode 10.
Yeah, but listen, Steve, if we're really conscious, we know that women run the world and run the show. We're just here to serve them.
That's right.
Correct.
But
That
this
is
could also mean
absolutely
it could
correct.
be an indication that
There's a
men.
smart man.
Yes.
It could also be an indication that men in the world are becoming more conscious.
Or more,
Well,
more realistic, more scared.
no, don't be scared of us. It's really quite cool.
Okay, Jane, what does the Living Consciously TV show mean to you?
To me, it means really engaging with each other from a place of being really present. Well, engaging means being present. From the perspective of the particular insights, life experiences, wisdom that each of us is coming from. So truly responding and being present with each other from that place.
Fantastic. All right, and what it means for me, and I started this this wonderful journey, bringing consciousness to the masses in a different way than it has ever been done before. And what I mean in a different way is what we're attempting to do here, and we're still learning ourselves, is to create some kind of a context so that our viewers are able to identify, once they beginning to watch our shows, what does consciousness looks like and what does it feel like. And in order for us to do that, we have to be practicing what we're preaching. And we have to walk the talk, and I have to walk the talk. And I can honestly tell you that I don't always walk it. Okay. There are
I
times.
agree.
There are times I mess up.
You're only allowed to say that about yourself.
Steve, this is an intervention on you today.
Okay, it's going to be an awesome show then, because I could use one. All right, so let's get to Ninon. Ninon, what is it to you, the Living Consciously
Well,
Show?
actually, as well as doing this show, my own show, I do acting as well, and bringing Living Conscious to a movie set, which is usually on set for about 12 hours. And I just did one 2 days ago. And when you actually play your part, you have to be so conscious of the other person, of what they're doing, and so real, and trying to put yourself into another place because you're acting actually somebody else. But also you've got all these people around, you've got the cameraman, you've got this, you've got so many people around you that you really have to be so conscious. So I think it's, for me at the present time, it's very, very much being aware of other people around you and trying to do what they want and how they want it. And I think in the movie industry, that's really being conscious of other people and sort of trying to help them as well as trying to get this whole film or movie or whatever they're doing together. So it's being very, very conscious, and it put me in that light. And with this program, it was I was thinking of this program, Living Consciously, a lot because of that, of being conscious with other people.
Fantastic. So that brings us to our second segment, and my opening question to John is, I actually borrowed this from John, our theme today. The only thing stopping us is us stopping. It really caught my attention when I noticed it, and I'd like to ask you, where did you come up with this? Because it's, in a way, it's a little bit deep, and I think we could talk about this probably for hours. But where did you come up with this sentence, John?
I was advising a CEO of a company that my wife and I had invested in. And we were having a traditional update meeting, and he asked me what I thought some of the key characteristics were of a leader of a small company or even a large company. And I said, period, point blank, number one is your level of commitment. And that basically boils down to your persistence and basically your wherewithal. And he said, okay. And we basically at that moment came together and talked about this particular sentence, which is, the only thing that's going to stop you is you stopping. He's like, the only thing that's going to stop us is us stopping. And I said, that's exactly what it is. In the end, I think it applies in every facet of life. I mean, let's be honest. Anything that you're doing that's positive for yourself, you'll get naysayers to essentially say, I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if that's going to work, or I don't know if that's really a good use of your time and energy. The reality is, if you're doing anything that is aligned with your purpose, you're going to get pushback on it. And ultimately, those are going to be the things that define us, both from a legacy standpoint and identity standpoint. So that's where that particular phrase spawned from. And to me, it is the ultimate characteristic for business owners. And I think it's the ultimate characteristic for me as a father and a husband, and just as, a citizen on this planet. I mean, I say the same thing to my wife. I say, for us, this marriage, there is no stopping it. We have to go to the finish line together, and it just gives us this sense of purpose and resolve.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes, Ninon, did you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I did actually, because I think when you actually address your children and your wife, which sometimes they can be kind of forgotten if you're going into business and you're going into this new business you're in, the Journey Gym. And you can sometimes forget that. And I've been in the family unit for many years now. So to hear that coming from you, it just gives that beautiful feeling that you are concerned about them, and that you truly, there's so many divorces now, but you truly want to go to the end. You started at the beginning. You're going to have your bumps in the road. I was married for 29 years. You have bumps. You get over those bumps. They're it's like a hurdle race. You got these little hurdles that come in. But you're already prepared to sort of handle them and take care of them and take the responsibility of your wife and children. And I think that's absolutely incredible message to get out there to our audience, to take care, as a man, your wife and your kids, and then your business. Awesome.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Ninon. Well, I've noticed in my own life and in my own experiences that, and we're still focusing on the problems and issues of stopping, that a lot of people have lots of good ideas, and I'm sure that, John, you can relate to this because one of the things that you do is you involve yourself in startup businesses. And people are full of ideas, but ideas by themselves, good ideas, really, I don't think, take you where you want to end up. What do you think?
I have thought about that. Is it okay if I jump in, or John,
Sure.
do you want to?
Jump in.
Well, what I see is there's a distinction between what you're talking about, Steve, and what John is talking about. To me, the level that you're talking about, John, is sort of a quantum leap beyond where most people are. What I mean by that is people have lots of different ideas, as Steve was saying, about what they want to do, and something comes up, oh, I'll do that, or I'll do that, or I'll do that. But there's not a congruency.
Right.
There isn't a connection with their real purpose in life. They're not in alignment. And most people don't really know what they really want. They are sort of grasping for what I would call substitutes because they're avoiding the real heart of the matter. To me, that's the real problem. When they get to the place where what you're talking about, whereas you are totally connected to your purpose, or even in the man that you were working with was totally connected with his purpose. When you get to that point, that is like 90% there.
I could not agree more.
Hey,
You know,
John,
Okay.
let me. Hey, Steve, could I jump in? I'd like to give
Sure.
you sort of some insight. Having gotten to know John and having a chance to sort of participate today, and I think one of the benefits we could provide the viewers and the listeners is sort of a how-to, so that they come off this program. What's an action step that somebody could take to sort of engage in healthy living, or unlock a gift, or pursue a passion, or face a truth. And what I've seen in John, maybe you can describe if such a thing exists as a formula. You have found a way to incorporate family, wife and moms and dads, a brother, be in business with a brother, include a family in an entrepreneurial startup, successfully build those businesses, maintain a family relationship, make a little bit of money along the way, teach that along the way to other folks to how to find that congruence that Jane is speaking of head and heart and purpose and passion. I know there's a statement I heard long ago, which I think serves me when I remember it, and that is, don't let your mouth overload your back. Always easier said than done. And I think one of the keys is to find that alignment. Could you touch on what is it you do, or how do you find the alignment, or how can you teach someone to become aligned, to have that perseverance? Because as Ninan said, life is a game of whack-a-mole. Those obstacles are always there, and they will deter you at the first turn.
Okay, hang on, guys, for a minute. That's a great question, but can we bring that back up in the third segment? Because that's really a solution. So can we focus, may I make a request respectfully of the cast?
I just got slapped.
to keep keep on task, and let's talk about the problems and the issues, because we would like to have our viewers to be able to identify themselves with what we're talking about. So let me try to focus us back in. So let me tell you a couple of things just from my own experience, and then you guys can share yours.
Yeah.
So my experience is I made a commitment to my health for the first time in my life 6 months ago.
awesome.
Isn't that amazing? I'm 50,
Now has a bicycle.
58
Now has a
years old,
bicycle.
and it's the first time ever that this has come up in my life, that I'm going to make a commitment to my health. And what that looked like is, first I hired a nutritionist, and I went through a 4-month program and learned and
But you're
understood.
talking about a solution.
No, it's not. I'm going to tell you what the problem is.
Oh, we all need a
So-
solution.
Tell him, Jane.
So I did all that. I'm just giving you this as a background. So I also bought a bike. I walked. And let me tell you how many times I wanted to quit, but I still haven't quit. I still haven't stopped. And the last time that I actually did quit for a while was when I decided to expand our business, and I got a place downtown, a business place, and all of a sudden I find myself back into the corporate rut. It's almost like everything that I used to say that I'm not going to go back to, I realized that I was back into it again. I was back into getting up in the morning, getting into my car, people yelling at me on the highway, I'm yelling back. All of a sudden,
Great
I felt
morning.
like, okay, so what happened to this, conscious, semi-conscious person called Steve? I was thrown back into life on the outside world, and all of a sudden, it's like exercising was not an importance anymore, because I made other things more important, like getting to the office early. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense. It's priorities that we all have, and I think the first priority we really should have is what we eat and also exercise, because that's actually going to help us get through the day and put us to where we need to be. But you were talking earlier about ideas and how so many of us have so many ideas, and you had the idea of having an office downtown. Everybody has all these different ideas, and an idea isn't something until you actually do it. And so many people have ideas, but they never actually perform them. It just becomes an idea, and then a few days, weeks later, it doesn't. And I think to accomplish something, to be conscious of having an idea and actually fulfilling it and actually trying to do it. And I think so many of our people out there feel, because so many people put these obstacles in the way and they put all these different things in the way, that, oh, you can't do that, oh, it's too much, and they give you that doubt. Don't ever have that doubt. You've got an idea, go with it. Truly, just go with it. And even if you fail, you did try it and you did go for it.
I have a thought about this. What you're describing is an incongruency. It's it's a way of looking at life in which it doesn't work. So you've approached the business world before, and to the detriment of your well-being.
Right.
And you've come full circle again. Now you're committed to your well-being. You find that there is a conflict between succeeding in business and your well-being. Now, that's not the nature of reality. And I think that's really important. What my work is based on, the principle life is meant to work, which is sometimes quite a challenge to really get that when you're talking about yourself. But from my point of view, there is what I call limiting decision, which is there's an unconscious process happening inside of you that is structuring things in a way in which you can't do both. You can't both succeed in business and be taking care of your health. Now, that has to be gotten to the bottom of it, because you are inherently creating a situation where you can't win.
Right.
But the important thing to realize is it's not the nature of reality. There's something inside of you that's distorting your experience. So that's what I would say.
Before you can't do both, you can.
Well, you can't do both in the way that he's doing it.
No, you can't, no.
Because the way he's got it structured inside. But it's nothing to do with the reality externally.
We ought to hear John's take on this. What do you say, John?
Yeah, I think Jane and James and Steve, everyone's hitting it absolutely right on the head. When James and I got to know each other, one of the things that we kept talking about was, sort of the cliche phrase that's going around, but it's not cliche at all, because it is the basis for essentially our lives, which is a sense of your purpose. Whether you believe it's God-given, or whether you believe it's something that it just comes from greater consciousness, or whether you believe it's something from the universe. And I think Jane nailed it. If you're in alignment with your purpose, and again, studies show that a lot of people don't feel like they know who they are or what they're supposed to do until they're in their mid-30s. But some people find out when they're 5, and some people find out when they're 20. I think one of our primary tasks in this life is to seek that out, and as parents be stewards to help the children find out what that is by constantly introducing them to other facets of life and other forms of potential passions. But once you find that purpose, if you allow that life to play out, everything will work. You will be able to fit in fitness and nutrition. You will be able to fit in your aspirations potentially for wealth. You will be able to fit in social circles and your romantic life all together into a single life, a life that everything intertwines. And people say, well, why would you mix family and business, or why would you mix social and business? And the reality is because that's what you have to do to be the authentic version of who you are. I mean, let's be honest, the people that are the best in the world at what they do essentially surround themselves by people that they love, people that drive them forward, people who keep them motivated and positive, and people that basically create this fabric or this tapestry of their purpose. And it is amazing to see. But like Jane said, most people aren't there, or only a fraction of the way there. And I think it all starts with that single word, purpose. You just have to every day wake up and say, why was I put here? What is unique about me? What do I have that no one else has? And what am I supposed to do with it? And the moment that clicks, it's like a punch in the face, and it's like the most positive bruise you've ever had.
Very well said.
Yes, and I agree with that. And I also, from my own experience, have to say that then you're going to be tested.
Exactly.
You're going to be tested
Requires
over
transformation.
and over and over. What was that?
It requires transformation. So, you get a hold of your purpose and you start moving through life with that purpose, and then all these other factors come in, such as Steve in the office, etc. So every step of the way, you are putting yourself in a position where you have to transform yourself and evolve yourself in order to keep moving forward. So if you just stay the same and try to follow your purpose, it's not going to work.
Exactly.
So, Steve, how did you make this work? Because I know you went on a bike ride last night, but how have you managed to change it around after you had the test of going to the office and getting up and yelling at everybody on the freeway? How did you manage to make that change?
Well, I haven't actually figured it out how to make it all work. What I've done is when I began this whole thing about the expansion and the office and all these other things that I was doing, I recognized that maybe it was too soon. Maybe I did it too early. And because things were not working. Things were not moving forward. Things were actually moving backwards. And I needed to stop. I felt that the only way I can get through this is, it's just like in a movie. When people are making an A movie and it's not working, you just stop the production.
That's what they
What else
do.
are you going to do?
That's what they do.
So
It's not working,
I
they stop.
stopped the Coach Steve production of expanding and growing because it became painful. So how I noticed that things were not going right is that I was experiencing more pain and less joy. And before I got into it, it was the other way. I was experiencing more joy and less pain. And guess what happened? I put the office thing and the expansion thing on temporary hold for right now, and I went back to where I was before, which is get on my bike, go out into nature. The other day I had a conversation with Jane for probably an hour next to a lake, because that is the only place that I feel that I am who I feel that I want to be for the rest of my life. I want to feel, I don't want to be stressed out. That's a life that just doesn't work for me. It's
So
not
you were
something
kind of
that,
in your comfort zone. You kind of went back to your comfort zone where you felt more relaxed, more at ease, and you felt more you again.
well, I needed to shut off all the noise because there was way too much noise. Way too much noise. So I was looking for, serenity, quietness, get centered back again, let's get grounded again, who I really am. I felt that I lost me there for a little bit.
So you got back to your purpose, to who you are, to your purpose.
I got back to me.
you,
So
to your purpose.
to answer your question, I don't have it all figured out, how all of this is all going to work together. I'm not there. But that doesn't prevent me from doing a show like this, because who is there? Show me a human being that's completely there.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the problems that this caused me, and that's what I wanted to get to, is it caused me pain. And that's what I would like the viewers to recognize, that when they are in pain, when it hurts, when life hurts, something is off. What do you think, John?
I think that's accurate. I do think a certain level of pain and anxiety and suffering can do wonders for building character, and can really test your fortitude as an individual and as a son and a brother or a husband, whatever your roles might be. With that being stated, though, I think, Steve, it's exactly aligned with what Jane's saying. Using that word alignment, I agree. We get to choose our feelings. Like my wife always says, you're either acting and being in love or you're not. You're either talking to me in a loving manner or you're not. It doesn't mean that you can't critique. It doesn't mean that you can't provide feedback. It doesn't mean that you can't say, hey, maybe we could look at this a different way. But it's pretty much true. It's not only pretty much true, it's absolutely true. And so if we go into life like you've been doing and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to take my health on as something that I care about and that I don't consider to be selfish to do. All you're doing is saying, you know what, I actually know what I'm here to do, and I have to at least take care of myself because we know the ramifications of not. So that is me showing myself a little bit of love. And then if you go to your family and your colleagues and say, you guys, I actually think I will be a better friend, husband, and colleague at work if I could just do a little bit of this for myself, and 100% of people will be in support of it. And in the end, all you were doing was showing yourself a little bit of love and in a loving fashion communicating with your colleagues and family. And generally speaking, they will all support you. If someone's naysaying at that point, well, we got to wonder whether or not they're actually looking out for our best interest. But I do think a little bit of pain is okay, but I agree with you. If you're constantly struggling, I guarantee you that purpose is off. You're off. You're just simply off. I was saying to James one time, and I'll leave you with, well, I'll leave you with this, but this is the one thing, a stat that I saw, that 95% of people, at least in their work life, were dissatisfied with the roles they're in. And I heard a stat actually on the show about 70%, potentially wanting to change it. But 95% of people feeling like they're not supposed to, that they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing in their work life. I mean, to me, it's unbelievable.
But that means that they're in pain.
Exactly.
And they're not paying attention to the pain. I mean, maybe they are, but they're ignoring it.
But they're afraid. Maybe they're afraid to move, to make a move. They get comfortable where they're at. They've got maybe rent to pay and a family to keep and all this stuff, and they just continue, and not really. They know maybe they know what they want, but they're just too afraid or too frightened to make that change.
Exactly.
How would you, John, give advice to making that change, since you've kind of done a little bit with your wife and your kids? You've really been very concerned about that, and I think that's a big concern in this world today because of the things we're all going through.
I was saying to James before a little bit, for me, I didn't do a good job of it in my 20s. I've been married for just over 10 years with 2 children, a 5 and a 2-year-old son. And but one thing I have always done is said, I am committed to this. I'm committed to this marriage. I'm committed to this family. I'm committed to these boys. And I have a process that I use, and it basically boils down to the one-liner that we talked about before. And for me, it's pretty simple. When everyone says, if you want to basically set up legacy and character in your life, start at the end and work back. So whether it's someone like Stephen Covey saying, listen, basically write your own obituary and get a sense of what you'd like your friends and family to say. And it's not an ego thing. It's really sort of like, what do I really want them to see me as? Do I want them to see me as someone that was always taking care of himself? No. Do I want them to see me as someone that didn't push the envelope to try and change the world? No. Do I want them to see me as someone that was constantly neglectful and really didn't care about their future? No. So for me, it all boils down to the single word of purpose, and then followed up with commitment, and just saying, I know that you think something's greener on the other side, but let's all be honest. It never is. If you've got problems in this workplace, you're likely going to have them in the next. If you've got problems in this friendship, you're probably going to have problems in the next. We just have to get aligned with that purpose to where all of a sudden, guess what? Like Steve was saying, you feel good in every instance you're in. You feel good at work. You feel good when you're hanging out with your friends and having some dinner. You feel good when you're just reading books to your kids at night. You're not constantly in this place of anxiety and concern about, I'm just not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Imagine if we live this entire life feeling like you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. I mean, that's terrible, but that's the reality of where a lot of people are.
A lot of people live like that. A lot of people, they're just afraid.
To me, the distinction is, are you following your inner guidance, or are you not following your inner guidance? And what Steve describes, I always really like hearing the process that he's going through. And when you go back to connecting, putting yourself in a place where you find yourself again, what that means to me is that you're connected to your inner guidance again. And when I experienced you doing that, it's like a relief to me. It's like, there he is. It's like he's on the path. And I feel very joyful. And it doesn't really matter what form it takes, but when I experience you following your inner guidance and being on your life path, I love it.
So what you're saying is you experience when he's not like that.
Well, I mean, I I experience everybody, including myself, at times, where we're just, sort of not in contact with what's really true.
Not-
I don't know anybody who's always there,
Right.
Well, I think what's important, Steve, is as you talked about this a little bit on last month's show, is so that you have all of a sudden what we call.
James, your video's out.
Don't take it personal. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh, we can
yeah,
always
see
hear
you
you.
now.
It's okay. I'm watching you. So the interesting thing about Steve, so you get muscle memory. You get those feelings back that you had several years back when you were in corporate America, so to speak, Hungarian in corporate America. So a lot of this is what's the lessons, what's the memories, and can you push through it? Also, what are your motivations or expectations that you're trying to meet? And I think as John was alluding to, when the stress comes from not doing something that we know we should do, you should take good care of yourself. Some things were coming in front of it. That creates a lot of stress for us when we're not doing that. And we know if we don't take good care of ourselves, nobody else will. And we can't be our best or give our best if we're not at our best. If we don't take care of us, the epitome of this show is health, right? If you don't take care of you, nobody else will. And people hear what they see. So if you're not doing it, it's hard to speak about it and expect other people to do it.
Right.
Yeah. So how can we help all of our viewers? Can we come up with a few potential solutions and maybe some modalities that you guys and ladies have used in the past that got you through whatever you need to get through, or you assisted one of your clients to get through it? So how could we help the viewers? Like, somebody just started a health program and they just bought a gym membership, for example, and they into month 2 and they just quit. They just stopped. How can we get them back on?
I can tell you how I would approach it.
Go
with
ahead.
a client. Someone comes in with me to see me and says what you just said. I would probe and get to the bottom of what emotions are coming up that when the person thinks of doing the exercise or whatever it is they committed themselves to, whatever negative emotion comes up that's getting in their way of doing it, there is a limiting decision. In other words, an unconscious pattern that needs to be cleared, that needs to be shifted, changed, because it is causing them to be out of alignment, their conscious and unconscious mind to be out of alignment, so that they can't really pursue what really benefits them. So I use an NLP timeline process, hypnotic process, for bringing them back to the very first event in which that decision was made and clearing it. So that's how I approach it with my clients.
Great.
You'll probably find a lot of people, as we all know, quit, especially exercising. We all go out to exercise, we all get gung-ho, New Year's resolution, we're all out there and doing our thing. I think it's a little deeper than that. I think it's a little bit that people, they never have that incredible feeling about themselves. They've always got this sort of, you're not good. And it goes all the way back to your childhood, that when you were put down in your childhood and you were hopeless and you never fulfilled anything. And they never kindly lose that. And then they lose that inner self. And I think, Jane, you put it right, that you've got to be in touch with yourself as to who you are. One of my favorite things is look in the mirror and just like yourself and understand yourself and listen to that inner voice. Listen to that inner voice that you are not hopeless, that you can fulfill this, and you are going to take on this challenge, and you are going to take this exercise. And it's again, once you get over that little hump, you will continue exercising. And these little humps come in, I think, to everything in life, that you've got to get over those little humps that tell you not to do it, I don't want to do it. But the people that succeed are really the people that keep moving forward and get over that little hump of something going wrong and not feeling good about themselves. So I think it's definitely feeling good about yourself and the purpose of whom you are.
So I'd like to jump in with the promise that John goes after me, because he'd be the guy trying to build this business around this challenge. I think a couple things. One is, from a marketing perspective, the image in people's minds of what a fitness club or health club is very intimidating. You walk in, you think you're going to see everybody with six-pack abs or supermodels. Two is, if you look at the machines, they look scary, and people get on. If they don't know what they're doing, they look funny, they get off. We are a quick fix nation where we expect to see it in 24 to 48 hours. If we don't see it, we get frustrated. So I think it's really clarifying the expectations. What is exercise? If you're out gardening, if you walk with your children, if you take the stairs, if you go out and play Frisbee, if you play golf, if you ride your bicycle, if you go to the gym, give yourself points and credits for a lot of things. That gives momentum. If it is, I've got to do 22 sets of Arnold's bomb blasted curls. Nobody wants to do that. It's really, we should all have T-shirts at the end of this program called "Body by Toth." Steve.
And all of that the lake.
So John, build on that for me. Where did I miss?
We have a manifesto in our company. It's a fitness product and fitness content company, and it's that health is a journey, and that is our tagline. And what that means to us, and we've written a manifesto with our entire team and revised it a number of times. But
Great slogan.
Thank you. What it basically means is that we've decided that we're all human, that we are going to have inconsistency regardless, that the kids are going to get sick, I have to go on a business trip, or that I even potentially get injured. But when I wake up in the morning, every single day, I have a choice to do just an incremental thing, and I think James nailed it. For some people, it's that they do 5 minutes of walking. For some people, it's that they drink black coffee that day instead of a traditional espresso, which may have 15 times as many calories. And so it's these little incremental steps. And what we said in the end, very much like the business discussion we had earlier in the show, is that it boils down to one word. And we worked with this consultant here in town, this great author, and he helped us come up with a single word, and our word is persistency. And he made us combine the words persistent and consistency. And he says, if you have persistency, that you are consistently doing anything, I will consistently drink a 16-ounce glass of water first thing in the morning. If you drink 100 ounces of water a day when you start your weight loss program, you can double your weight loss in those first couple weeks. Because what you do is you pull out sodas, you're inherently more full. That's one of the things. So if you're persistent on that, and then if you're persistent on those days when you just say, I just don't have it in me, you do exactly what James said. Well, maybe what you have in you today is a walk with your dog. Maybe what you have in with you today is to not eat dessert after dinner. Or maybe what you have in you today is to drink one more glass of water instead of a glass of wine at dinner. And what ends up happening is these little incremental steps start to add up to a deficiency in caloric intake that day of 100 calories. And the next day it's 3. And all of a sudden your pants start to fit a little bit better. And all of a sudden your face starts to look a little bit thinner. And all of a sudden your energy levels go up. And you nailed it. The studies show it takes now 7 weeks, not 21 days. It's now 35 days to break or build a habit, because it was 21 days if you did 7 days in a row. But we as Americans would cheat on the weekends. And so you've got to go at least that 35 days to feel the results, because if you don't feel the results, they won't stick. So it is all about the incremental stuff. It has absolutely nothing to do with go out, kill yourself for 90 minutes. It's not what it's about. It's incremental changes that add up and create momentum. And so persistency is the word we use.
Yeah, fantastic.
And Monday morning. I think we always use Monday mornings as well. I'm going to start my diet Monday morning.
Right.
I'm going to exercise Monday morning. But Monday morning never comes.
Hey,
It never comes.
does it count if Steve rides a bike with a poodle in a basket on it?
Yes, it does.
Does
Well,
count?
yes, the poodle loves it.
It counts double.
Excellent. You get a German Shepherd, it'll be really getting fit.
What about his cat? What about Steve's cat?
I think when he wears that as a hat, it's very embarrassing for all of us.
Oh, Steve, are you okay?
I feel like picked on. That's okay. No problem.
It's love. It's love.
We're just jealous. That's all. Just jealous of what you've got.
All right, so I wanted to share something about this myself, and it's going to be very short. So I wasn't exposed to John's sentence 7 years ago, the one that said, our theme today, which is the only thing stopping us is us stopping. But somehow, 7 years ago, when I started Real Coaching Radio and TV Network, this is what I said. I'm making a commitment to myself and to this network that I'm building that I will not stop, doesn't matter what.
Totally.
Awesome. Absolutely right.
Now, I had all kinds of stuff happening in the last 7 years that probably would have stopped most people. But I didn't stop because I have this commitment. And it doesn't matter. I have already proven it to myself. It doesn't matter what happens. I will get through it.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Hey, Steve,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I bet if you asked anybody on this panel and anybody who has had quote-unquote success, whatever that means to them or however they represent that, The success only comes after a series of failures, setbacks, trials, errors, heartache, heartbreak, financial problems, relationship challenges. That's the stuff that doesn't get a lot of press unless it's in the National Enquirer. I would suggest you stop reading that, Steve, because it's hurting us.
I'll cancel
Yeah.
the subscriptions, okay?
But advertising the show there has been brilliant. But the thing I think that people draw strength from is your story, that promise you made to yourself. And I imagine there's been 1,000 times when you could have just said, that's it, I don't want to play anymore. Right? And, look at how you're benefiting, look how we're benefiting, and other people are benefiting for your persistence. I mean, that's the consistency of the show. It's like John said, it's persistency. That's what you're embodying. That's what now this show brings to us in Virtue of Health is you just got to stay at it, one foot in front of the other, small victories.
It's funny, I want to elaborate on that. When I got married, we all say we're going to do this and do this and do this. But when I got married, I had 6 stepchildren, 2 ex-wives, and my husband. And it was quite a challenge. And I was married for 29 years and my husband passed away. But I kept that commitment that I said that I would do. And believe me, and I'm sure you all understand, and anybody out there will know how difficult it is dealing with ex-spouses and children and all this stuff. But when you have a commitment and you try to follow through that, it's such an accomplishment. And this is a day-to-day thing, but at the same time, when you make that commitment and you do what you're supposed to do, it's so fulfilling and it's so great, and it can be done.
Yeah, absolutely. And commitment, what I would call another way to call commitment is taking a stand on something. Mm-hmm. And when you truly take a stand on something, it's like the whole landscape shifts. It's like you're walking through life looking at things from a different perspective, and okay, this doesn't match. If something comes along that doesn't match the commitment, then that has to be altered, because the commitment is now defining reality. And the commitment that I made about 16 years ago was the commitment to the principle life is meant to work, and everything I define, all the work that I do, is based on that, and I won't accept any solution or any answer if it doesn't fit in that commitment that I'm standing on. And a whole perspective has opened up in front of me, a whole thought system based on that, because of the stand I took. And so what I'm hearing from each of you is that each of you have taken stands or commitments on particular things, and it has transformed your life. Absolutely. And that everybody can do that. You just have to find what's really in alignment with you.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right on.
So the only thing would have been stopping you, Steve, is stopping, and you didn't stop.
Right. The only thing would have stopped me is stopping. But that is never going to happen, because I have this stand, like Jane said. The stand is, I wouldn't even know right now, after 7 years of this, if I wasn't doing what I'm doing, which is something I completely love and I'm completely passionate about, it's the purpose of my life. It's why I went through the other, 51 years.
Absolutely.
Really.
Right. Yeah.
I there's nothing that I could do. I mean, there's nothing else that I could do. That's where I am with this. I mean, if I had to fill out just an employment application, I would have to throw up.
Yeah.
But I think your 51 years of experience brought you to where you are.
It's not going to happen.
Just think how the guy interviewing you would feel.
But I think the experience you had before, Steve, is going to put you where you are now.
He or she would say, this is definitely not a fit. And they would be right.
The thing that I'm noticing is
back
that
on and leave the room.
through the years of following that stand, you are recognizing a particular inner feeling that's connected with taking that stand, and you could say you're becoming more and more addicted to that feeling of following your inner guidance. It feels a certain way when you're following on your path. It feels blissful, it feels wonderful, and when you're off, it feels terrible. And the more you experience being on, following your guidance, being on your path, taking your stand, what it feels like is when you are in that stand, the more you experience that, the more you want to experience it, the more you notice when you're not. And so the longer a person is following their commitment and taking their stand, the easier it is, because you don't want to be without that feeling.
Yes. Yes.
I think taking a stand makes you feel very strong, because you've taken that stand, you're not going to budge, and that's what you are, and that gives you the strength to even make the next stand or the next thing you want to do. But it gives you that beautiful feeling of, I'm taking this stand, no one's going to weaken me, no one's going to say anything about me, I'm going to take a stand, I'm going to do whatever it is.
Yeah, and you know what? In addition to that, and I agree that I'm addicted to it, and in addition to that, now my family is as well, because I can tell you that for years when I started this, I couldn't tell you right now how many times my kids have told me, especially my daughter, Dad, why don't you go get a job? And she stopped saying that, which to me is an indication that now what she's present to is that I'm really committed to this and I'm really serious, and it doesn't matter if she says it won't make a difference.
She's kind of approved it too.
Yeah.
Approved what her dad's doing. It's kind
Yeah,
of, okay,
right,
Dad,
exactly.
I approve what you're doing. And she probably 100% agrees with it, because deep down she's saying, wow, for the last 7-8 years, he's really done what he really wants to. He's been through an awful lot of stuff. There's good and there's bad that goes along with, making a stand and doing your thing. There's a lot of heartaches, but there's also an awful lot of satisfaction when you do your own thing and you stick to it. Steve, stick to it.
Yeah.
Well, she's glad he's no longer sleeping on her couch.
With the cat.
Get a job, Dad. Get a job.
When are you going to get a job, Steve?
I'm not. I already have one. And this is it. All right, so back to John again. So what could you say, like, right now this show is going out live on Comcast Channel 56, but it also goes out on the internet. So everybody basically in the world, I would say, I believe that communication like this and many other communications, any communication, is really in the ether. So we actually have 7 billion viewers right now and listeners. What would you like to say to them? The one single thing that you could say to them that could potentially make a difference for people. And even if it's just one person that it make a difference to, it's fantastic.
Yeah, James had asked that question earlier in a different fashion, and I had an opportunity to speak to a bunch of high school kids, about 200 of them, a few weeks ago, and it was just by chance. I was just supposed to be on a panel, and the guy that was running the event said, "Would you consider talking to the whole group later because something came up?" And I said, "Sure. What would you like me to talk about?" And he asked this exact thing. Well, something that you think will help change their lives. And I said, "Well, all I can do is tell them about the way that I've approached business and life." And he said, "Okay, what is it?" It's 5 words. It's called the 5 Ps. Number 1 is purpose. Work every day from the time you're a child, or if you're a parent, since your kids were children, to help them identify what their purpose is. Let them try and anchor that down and define what that is. Obviously, everything you do is going to impact them. So number 1, find the purpose. Number 2 is passion. This is critical for parents, but find a way to introduce your kids to the 8 intelligences that exist, and find out where they lose time, where they lose a sense of work, and where they walk away with joy and blissfulness, like Jane was saying, around what they're doing. And that is one of their many passions, and ultimately with time it'll coalesce into likely one major passion. So that's number 2. So define the purpose, then get the passion rolling. Number 3 is put it out there. James and I talked about this. Most people will sit down with you one-on-one and say, "I was kind of thinking about writing this book. I kind of wish that I had started this business, or I had this idea," but they don't share it with anyone except for people in their inner circle. I think you have to do the opposite. You tell everyone, and the power of intention and verbally putting it out there and actually build physical things to put it even further out there is critical. So put it out there and let the world know, this is what I'm doing. Everyone, 100% of anyone that has access to me keeps me accountable. I am committed to building this business. I'm committed to this marriage. I'm committed to getting in shape. And you tell everyone. So put it out there is number 3. Number 4 is peers and people mentoring you. So peer mentoring is what we call in our business world over here. And all that means is, if you want to be a world-class athlete, you don't need the best coach. You don't need to come from pedigree, and you don't need the best genetics. What you need to do is surround yourself with the best athletes in the world in your same exact sport, and you go against them every day. No one will challenge you more, no one will give you better technique, and no one will push you farther than them. So surround your people that want to get healthy, that want to stay in that relationship, that want to succeed and sell their business for tens of millions of dollars. And then the last one is the persistency. That's number 5, is you will constantly have these hurdles like we were discussing. And in the end, I honestly think that is the single thing that we have to overcome on a day-to-day basis, and they're going to be there every day, and sometimes they're massive and sometimes they're small. But if you overcome that every day, like Jane was saying, slowly over time, it becomes less and less difficult to get over those hurdles because your fortitude, you're standing for it, your energy levels because you know you're aligned, and then in turn, the support mechanism, like you said, approved, right? Eventually, people will want to be associated with your purpose because all of a sudden you're successful at it. All of a sudden it's working for you. All of a sudden it's changing people's lives. You know, most people don't want to be associated with that idea because it might not work and then you'll be a failure. But as soon as it's successful, everybody wants to be associated with it.
All right.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be with a winner.
That's right.
So
They all want to be with a winner.
Steve is a 7-year overnight success.
Yeah.
right, that's
Well, I think a good example here would be Oprah, because nobody in commercial television has introduced something as positive as she has that has actually had an opportunity to succeed as much as it has for her. So I want to be the male version. I'm going to make a declaration
Excellent.
and put the stake in the ground that I want to be the the male version of Oprah.
Wow, that's a big challenge, and you can do it, Steve. Go ahead and do it. I mean, absolutely.
We get to
Absolutely.
jump.
And I'm
we get
not
to
even
jump on the
shaking.
couch.
Jump on his-
As long as you have me on your show.
Yeah. Yeah. So John and I will jump on the couch just like Tom Cruise did, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Where you got the support team right here, and I think John, your 5 Ps is brilliant to bring that
Oh,
to fruition.
excellent.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Absolutely brilliant. You know, we all have a purpose. Find it and go for it. We all have it. Just, you know, and you'll do it better. When you know what you want to do, you'll do it better than anything else in the world.
Yeah, I believe we all do have it. Everybody on the cast and our gracious guest, John, and myself, I think we all have got to this place, which the place is we have finally identified why we came to this planet, why we came to this earth, why we're doing what we're doing. And I believe that we are all driven not just for our own success, but to help anybody else that wants to learn from any of us. And it's not just us. I mean, there's thousands of people out there that are doing this kind of stuff. But we're still in a little bit of a minority. So what I ask is that I would like to make consciousness and being awake as popular as its opposite. How's that?
That's awesome.
I think that's awesome. I think you're on the right track, Steve. I think you've got everything in order, and I think we've all got a little way to go, but it all takes time. And anything that's really, really good takes time because you have to have that foundation. And if you don't have that foundation, it comes and it goes. So I think you're definitely on the right track, Steve.
Fantastic.
So
Thank
Steve,
you. And
Steve, I
actually,
suggest-
is there anything else you wanted to say?
I was going to suggest you're going to have to take the training wheels off your bike if you're really serious about this commitment.
I'm glad you said that,
Okay.
Jane. Since you're the male part of it.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm glad Jane and I didn't say that.
Okay.
And because you have made a commitment to all of us, and we're going to support your commitment. We know that Oprah was referred to as O. We're going to call you Steve O
Okay.
over the course of this journey because we want to see you make it happen, and we are on the rally squad for you.
The
But,
training
you know,
wheels.
but
The
I will
training
say,
wheels
because
are
if
coming
there's anything else,
off
I
this
think all of us would
afternoon.
agree. In order for you to bring that to fruition, you've got to take 110% care of yourself, my friend. That health is for you is vital.
Absolutely, the first step. But I think, you know, a little thing out of Oprah, I think what Oprah did that really made her really, really famous, Oprah was very natural and very honest with her interviews and who she interviewed and how she interviewed. And she wasn't afraid to ask certain questions that are out there. And I think that's what kind of put her where she is. So I think, Steve, you're doing the same thing. So
Yeah, thank you. Guys, we're out of time, and really that's all the time we have for today. So many thanks to all of our viewers, as well as John Reese and the rest of the health cast. Don't forget to go to www.livingconsciously.tv and vote on our shows. The more you vote on our shows, the more it is shown in the Denver area with Comcast. So please go there and do it, and interact with us there as well. Leave us comments, give us some feedback on what you think we're doing, and just continue to interact with us and continue to come to the shows that are on now every Saturday afternoon at the same time, 3 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, and that would make it 5 o'clock Eastern and 2 o'clock Pacific. So I really enjoyed our show today. We had a lot of fun, and we addressed some serious subjects as well. And I promise you that those training wheels are coming off this afternoon as soon as I get back home.
Perfect.
Okay. And I will get rid of them so I could never put them back on. How's that? Thank you. See you guys next week.